Hey, how's it going? Dave 2D here. So recently Dell released this, the 2-in-1 XPS 13, and I've been a huge fan of the original XPS 13, but this new version seems better on paper. It's thinner, it's more versatile because it's got that 360 hinge, and it's similarly priced. Let's take a look. It has the same design language, aluminum top and bottom panels with soft touch carbon fiber on the deck, all very rigid and properly fitted, true to the whole XPS name. This thing has great build quality. The hinge looks solid. It allows you to rotate the screen all the way around, and you can kind of one-hand open it from the side, but because the bottom half is so light, you have to wobble it a bit to get it open. For ports, we have micro SD, an audio jack, and a pair of USB-C ports. One of them supports Thunderbolt 3. There are no USB-A ports, which is how the device is so thin, but they include an adapter, so I'm happy. The screen is a 1080p panel, color gamut is great, color accuracy out of the box wasn't amazing, but calibration made it much better. It does get pretty bright, and the super thin bezels on the XPS line are always welcome. There's also a QHD version available if you want. The keyboard is a little disappointing for me. So the keys themselves are actually bigger than normal. They're a couple millimeters wider than normal XPS 13 or XPS 15 keys. It doesn't feel too different from the regular XPS 13 keyboard. It's still a short travel stroke, maybe a little spongier, but similar enough. But my biggest gripe are the page up and page down keys located here. So I've been using this thing for 2 weeks and I still accidentally hit them when I'm trying to press left or right. So if you're a database user or a spreadsheet user, or just if you frequently use the arrow keys, this might be an issue. The trackpad is good. It's the same shape and size as the regular XPS 13. Windows precision drivers, good tracking. The click mechanism is solid. Overall, it's a good trackpad. There's now a fingerprint sensor. It works quickly with Windows Hello. Location is good and it's tactile. You can instantly find it in the dark. And there's also the classic XPS webcam. It looks up your nose, but this one has an infrared cam, so it should support Windows Hello once Microsoft certifies it. When you open up the bottom panel, the RAM is soldered on, but the NVMe drive up here is user replaceable. It's the same Toshiba drive as the XPS 13, so speeds are pretty good. The 46 watt-hour battery takes up a huge footprint, and we're getting very good battery life. I'm comfortably getting 8 hours with it, and it charges up using a 50 watt USB-C charger. It's running Intel Y processors, which are fanless. They're normally 4.5 watt TDP chips, but if the thermal management is good enough, they can go up to 7 watts, and that's what Dell does here. The performance is surprisingly good for such a low wattage chip. It feels very snappy for single core stuff like work and light web browsing. Heavier tasks will still bog the system down, so anything that uses both cores for extended periods of time, like heavy photo or video editing, can get sluggish. The regular XPS 13 with the Core i5 or the Core i7 CPUs, those will handle heavier tasks better. Gaming on the 2-in-1 XPS 13 isn't great, even compared to the regular XPS 13. You can play some really light stuff like CSGO. It does, however, have a Thunderbolt 3 port that uses 4-lane PCIe. It doesn't officially support external GPUs, but with a couple drivers, it can connect up. Now keep in mind, it's a fanless dual-core CPU, so CPU-dependent games are still not amazing, but some games can do pretty well. Your exact frame rates will depend heavily on the graphics card you use, and it's pretty expensive to set this up for a Core Y processor, but it works. There's no fan noise because there's no fan, and thermals still aren't bad. There's an obvious warmer cluster up top where all the good stuff is, but it's a very comfortable device to use. So the speakers. When it's in laptop mode, the speakers are good. They sound very similar to the XPS 13 speakers, but because of their location, when you have it in tent mode, you lose a ton of audio clarity. The sound bounces around behind the screen, and you kind of lose the stereo effect. It actually sounds like a mono speaker. And the same thing happens in presentation mode. In fact, it's actually worse in presentation mode. And the thing is, these alternative configurations, like these non-laptop positions, these are the positions that people often use when they're consuming media, where you want your audio quality to be the best, but that's just not the case. Now, when you have it in tablet mode, the speaker positioning is fine, as long as you're not covering it with your hand. I want to talk a bit more about the tablet mode of this device because this is the feature that kind of separates the 2-in-1 XPS 13 from the regular XPS 13. And the bottom line, I don't enjoy using it as a tablet. So when you fold the screen over, remember the super thin bezels? I love them on a laptop, but as a tablet, because of these thin bezels, there's very little room to hold the device without accidentally making contact with the touchscreen. And then there's the issue of ergonomics. I just don't find it comfortable to hold. And this is a problem that almost every single folding 2-in-1 convertible has. When the keyboard is flipped around, you can feel the keys. They're deactivated, they don't register keystrokes, but it just feels weird. And there's also that uncomfortable edge when you're holding it. The soft touch material is nice to hold, it's grippy, but holding a 2.7-pound tablet for extended periods of time is just not enjoyable. And there's no hardware buttons for audio controls, you have to do it through software. So over the past couple of weeks, I've been trying to use this thing as often as I can as a tablet, and I gotta be honest, every single time I try, I just end up reverting back to using it as a laptop because it's just so much more comfortable to use as a laptop. And I get it, this thing was designed as a laptop first and a tablet as like a secondary option. If you want to, you can use it as a tablet, but I'm just saying the tablet experience is not my favorite. And that leads me to my last point. This thing starts at $1,000, so the pricing is not that different from the regular XPS 13. This is still a good device, but unless you really want that tablet mode or the different screen positions, I would stick with the original XPS 13. This thing is awesome. This is still good, but you're trading performance for this hinge, and unless you really make good use of this hinge, I'd skip it. That's the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thumbs if you did, subs if you loved it. I'll see you guys next time.